The protagonist of the game soon comes across a creepy stalker who introduces himself as John Doe, asking her very upfront and strange questions when he disappears, with the protagonist finding him in her apartment. That's when he reveals she has no choice but to be with him forever and ever, with no way to escape in the surreal, ever-changing world. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. This game has a total of 7 endings with a lot of twists, making you realize that this is not a typical stalking game that you expected. Make sure to send me your game suggestions and theories on my Twitter or subreddit, which I could potentially use for the upcoming videos. Keep in mind that there will be spoilers, as always. And with that said, let's begin. Waking up late for work in a physical and visually distorted house which the protagonist doesn't acknowledge, the protagonist takes a quick shower as she hasn't done so for 3 days, depicting how busy she has been to the point of not having enough time or energy for taking a shower. As she hastily rushes out to catch the bus, she notices a guy in a black jumper staring at her, wearing a wide ear-to-ear smile, not uttering a single word. The protagonist feels creeped out, yet liking the attention that she's getting, especially as it has been feeling lately that she is the only person in the entire world, with every day repeating itself being stuck in a heavily controlled loop where she is the only player. She contemplates if the stranger is good looking or not, thinking of the hypothetical possibilities if they ever had to date. Getting to work, working at a local gas station, the protagonist sets everything up, reshelving some stock in their place, when time slowly passes with not even one person visiting the gas station store. Suddenly, the protagonist gets the visit from the only person she wouldn't want to, the creepy dude from the bus that she rode on to get to work. The stranger, without much small talk, asks the protagonist what her name is when she introduces herself as you. This name is going to cause a lot of confusion when reading a script, but hey, it's probably not going to be as confusing as the name R, as who in their right mind would use an alias as such? The stranger then goes on to explain that you is definitely one of the names that he's heard before, weirdly not even being sarcastic, in a way implying that they've met before and as if they know each other very well, with the protagonist not remembering. The stranger then goes on to introduce himself as John Doe, which, if you don't know already, is a name given to an anonymous person in a way to refer to them. John then bluntly asks what you is doing after work, which catches her off guard, who contemplates for a little while to what she should say. She answers honestly this time, saying that she doesn't have anything planned. Just like that, John disappears in thin air without uttering much of a word, making this encounter even stranger than it initially was. As time passes with not even one person visiting the store, the shift comes to an end when Yu leaves the distorted store just to face the distorted world outside, which she completely dismisses as if it's the normal universe that she is used to. Just as she is happy that she can finally go back home and rest, she gets jump scared by John, who appears out of nowhere, being as awkward as ever, saying hi. As Yu mentions that she got scared, John asks the creepiest question ever, asking if she likes being scared. Yu, not knowing what to say, safe to say feeling a little creeped out, she answers that she only likes being scared when she is watching horror movies and not when people scare her, which makes John make a strange remark that he thinks Yu is cute when she's scared. Okay. He then goes on asking if he can go home with Yu, which terrifies her, being frozen in place, not knowing what else to say but yes. So maybe she can get rid of him, being scared of what he might do if she says no. Interestingly, the markings on John's t-shirt changes according to the situation and what questions he asks, with it changing to a spiral, as if depicting insanity when he goes on lecturing Yu like a child that she shouldn't invite strangers home, but excuses it, saying that they're not strangers anymore. Just as John is speaking, going on his fluctuating toned lecture, Yu quickly jumps into the bus which just pulled over, with John getting in it too, just staring at her for the entire journey, not sharing one single word. As the bus pulls over Yu's stop, she jumps out without even looking at John's direction, walking fast to her apartment when she looks around while fumbling with her keys, not seeing any sight of John. Taking a deep breath, pulling herself together, she says to herself that he didn't follow her here, which is a good thing. As she enters her apartment, she contemplates whether to eat or go straight to bed when she settles on going to the kitchen to eat something very quickly. As she visits the kitchen, she notices a distorted sticky thing which smells like blood, making Yu lose her appetite and go back to the living room without even inspecting what she just stumbled upon, which adds to the mystery of the entire universe and story Yu is placed in. As Yu sits down to watch some TV and relax, she hears a very familiar voice interrogating her to what she's watching, when in horror she notices John standing right behind her. Terrified to what he might do, John mentions the door was unlocked and he invited himself in, asking Yu if he can stay. As Yu tries to answer, John breaks the fourth wall, stopping the players from choosing for Yu, saying how he chooses for her, and as she wants him to stay, he will stay forever with her. This ending reveals the surreal and horrifying world both John Doe and Yu are stuck in, as none of them can remember seeing anyone else in this world, not even the bus driver or anyone at the gas station, as if the story is solely about them and no one else. Just as the game ends, it begins yet again at the very beginning with Yu waking up in her apartment being late for work. She repeats the same exact day, leading to her finishing her work and finding herself back in her apartment. As she sits in front of the TV, John appears again, but instead of saying that he let himself in, he answers a confused Yu that she in fact invited him in, which she doesn't remember at all. That's when Doe reveals his true nature, mentioning how there's a chemistry between them, when he pulls out a knife and stabs Yu, interrogating her if she loves him. He doesn't stop kissing Yu and smiles in a menacing way, which ends the story once more. The loop then repeats itself exactly as before again, but this time something urges Yu to answer directly to John, being upfront and showing complete lack of interest to him. She mentions how she doesn't find him cute, how she wouldn't want him to go to her house, and how she doesn't like being scared. As Yu finds herself back in her apartment, she doesn't visit the kitchen anymore and watches TV instead, which ends the story with no sign of John anywhere, which shows how he lost interest. This doesn't end the story, however, when Yu wakes up back in her apartment just as before, hearing her alarm clock. She doesn't seem to remember she's trapped in a traumatizing and horrible loop, stuck with a murderous psychopath, but something strange happens this time when she decides not to take a shower. Instead of feeling as if she is in control, a strange feeling takes over her, making her say she doesn't need a shower, which makes her feel powerless, as if a higher being is making her decisions for her, feeling like a déjà vu. If only she knew she's trapped in a game in which the players have full control over her actions. This time around in the bus, John is severely distorted and altered, being much scarier than before, staring at Yu. The same impulse takes over her, saying that she thinks he's cute, which makes her question her own sanity, as it's not something that she thinks. Arriving at work, she encounters John again, who mentions how nice she smells, even though she hasn't taken a shower for 3 days, when he asks what she's doing after work. The same strange impulse takes over her again, saying that she is absolutely doing nothing, asking if John wants to hang out, when John happily accepts and disappears, leaving Yu speechless as to why she said something like that. Finishing work, John jumps out, scaring Yu again, asking the same weird question if she likes being scared, when in a strange manner, Yu answers that she loves being scared, wanting John to scare her even more. Having no idea what's going on with her, Yu rushes to the bus, urging John not to follow her. Unsurprisingly, John is present at the bus, staring silently at her. When she arrives at her stop, running to her apartment, when John appears out of nowhere, going inside with her. Inside, John asks if Yu liked the gift he left her, which she doesn't remember anything of, making John say that this event hasn't happened yet, presenting the same exact gift she would find in the kitchen, which would have blood blood in it. The gift is blurred for now as you isn't supposed to see it yet as a game character, revealing that the previous events in fact are supposed to happen in the future, explaining why he has been acting so strangely, as if he has known the protagonist for a very long time. Being horrified and not believing her eyes, Yu tries to run away from John to another room, noticing it's not her house and that it's severely distorted. Noticing how this is in her apartment, she tries to leave, but as she opens the door, she comes across an absolute void with eyes and mouths as if representing the players playing the game, when John informs her that she has always been here and that he will ensure she won't ever leave, which ends the loop. This unveils the main plot of the game, that the protagonist is a playable character who is controlled by the players, trapped in a digital realm, doomed to be stuck with a psychopathic dating sim boyfriend. That is why she has deja vu regardless to what she answers, as she has repeated all of this before and she doesn't really have any control over any of her actions. Waking up yet again in the same manner, trying to stay away from John Doe as if she has an impulse and a feeling she should. Not really remembering anything that happened before, she arrives back in her apartment after a long day at work, sleeping when she awakens yet again, but in an altered apartment which has more distinctive shapes, not being as distorted as before. Despite everything looking different, Yu doesn't acknowledge it, as if she's conditioned to it, not seeing the change. This time around, she looks at the normal clock, noticing she's not late, with a strange little sticky note reminding her to buy a dream journal. This depicts how she doesn't in fact acknowledge her past encounters, but she thinks they are dreams, and as we all know, we barely remember any dreams after seeing them. As she goes straight to the bus, skipping shower, she notices a handsome and tall man looking almost identical to John Doe, but being more presentable, having a combed hair, good posture, a friendly smile, and less creepy facial features. This time around, Yu thinks that he's actually cute when the bus reaches her stop, getting off to go to work. Everything in the world is now how they're supposed to be, not distorted or broken. Getting to the store, everything is just as before, with no one visiting, apart from John, who uses the same dialogue as before, but in a more calculated and friendly manner. This time, instead of just randomly telling her that she smells nice, he asks her what shampoo she uses, normalizing the conversation. After some small talk, John disappears, with time passing, bringing Yu's shift to an end. John, just like before, appears scaring Yu, but instead of being upfront, he changes his approach, being more friendly, apologizing for scaring her. John subsequently asks if he can go home with her, to which she accepts, this time actually taking the bus together and going to her apartment together. After some cute chit-chat with Yu actually enjoying his company, John asks Yu if she likes him like this, which makes her question him what he meant like this, when he transforms to his original creepy shape, urging Yu to get to know each other better. Repeating the story as before, this time Yu doesn't invite John to her apartment, which leads to her getting back to her apartment, noticing her door being unlocked. As she enters, she comes to the harrowing realization that John is there, who confronts her about not giving him a chance. As she answers, he then goes on pleading that he can be anything the protagonist wants, phasing between his initial version and the new version, starting to break when he becomes stable at his original shape, sweating profusely, asking Yu if she loves him. That's when Yu breaks down the harsh truth that he's a creepy stalker and that she doesn't want to be anywhere near him. That causes John to fall to his knees, begging Yu to be with him as he doesn't want to be alone, who bids him farewell, which makes the world distort, with John being trapped in the game, hitting the glass barrier between him and Yu, trying to have company in this limited world. This twist reveals that Yu, the protagonist of the game, only exists when the players play the game and control her. That is why John Doe, a constant game character in the game, acted very creepily and obsessive to Yu, as he's been all alone with no other character on the entirety of the game, and the fact that he is programmed to love and be obsessive over Yu. He has grown to hate being alone, losing his sanity to some degree, begging you not to abandon him. As Yu wakes up in the same loop once more, repeating everything up to the point John asks her if she loves him, Yu admits this time that she likes him, but not when he tries to be manipulative or change himself being someone else. Yu in fact likes him for who he truly is, the original John Doe. That's when Yu remembers that she has met him before, with John confessing that they have been stuck in this never-ending loop forever, making Yu realize they will keep meeting each other just like this, repeating the same thing over and over again. Yu finally gives John a chance, admitting they don't have any other choice, being the last two people in the world, which makes John melt in shyness and blushing, ending the story with the players achieving the 7 endings and most likely moving on. So other players play the game with John and Yu repeating the same loop over and over again with only one difference. Now willing to spend time together, enduring this maddening world together. And that's it for John Doe Plus. I hope you folks enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, you can stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, thanks for being here, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.